Koppel, host of the Time for Coffee podcast, where you get firsthand career advice into the jobs and industries that interest you the most. And before we start today's show, I have a quick favor to ask you. If you haven't already, I'd be incredibly grateful if you give us a rating and a review on iTunes. And if you're like me, you need to do it now because you'll forget later and because it's the best way to help others who may be in search of career advice to find this free resource. So press pause if you haven't done it and do it right now. I'll wait. Thanks so much and enjoy today's show. Hey there, Java Junkies. Welcome to another K-Cup mini episode of Time for Coffee. By the way, K-Cups come in 3 sizes, single, double, and triple shots, or roughly 1 minute, 5 minutes, or 10 minutes in length. So if you don't have time to throw back an entire caffeinated career conversation, these K-Cup mini episodes of T4C can give you a quick caffeinated fix, whether you're on the go or you only have a few minutes to binge. So grab your mug and take a chug, because it's time for a caffeinated career triple shot K-Cup with my guest, Glenn Leibowitz. I have 2 final T4C questions, Glenn, that I ask all of my guests. And the first one is to share a time in your professional life when you struggled. Maybe you even screwed up, failed at something. I certainly have many, many times. And the most important thing here is how you persevered and whether there was a lesson that you learned in the process.
Sure. I'm going to get a little bit personal here. And I think, but I think the overall message is that, me included, most of us or all of us fail at one point or another, or maybe even multiple times. So there was a time where I was taken completely by surprise and given a very tough performance review at work. This is years ago. I had always done very well, scored highly on my annual review. And all of a sudden I got a review that was not so great. And I was very upset and very bothered because I was taken by surprise. I really didn't expect it. And so I turned to several of my mentors and sponsors at my firm for advice. And what I learned from that was a few things. First of all, you need to over communicate what you're doing and the impact that you're having. And I realized that I wasn't even doing that. If I were to be totally honest, I wasn't communicating enough about what I was exactly doing and the impact I was having. So that would be one lesson I took from that. Because, if nobody knows what you've done or what your contribution was, then I don't know if you've heard the expression, but it's like, if a tree falls in the forest and nobody's around to hear the sound, then doesn't make a sound. So it's as if the tree never fell, in other words. So it's as if you didn't make a contribution. If you don't talk about it or share it with your managers or your colleagues, then it's almost as if you didn't do it. So somebody needs to know about it besides yourself. So that was one thing I learned from that tough experience. I think second was to create a plan to double down on your contributions and try to be more creative, try to be innovative in some small way. And that's something that I tried to do over the course of the next year or two. What can you do differently? What can you learn so you can contribute in a way that you didn't before? And then finally, I learned from the senior people I spoke with that nearly every one of them went through a tough patch or 2 or 3 in their careers. They just don't talk about it. They don't tell you about it. And that was very revealing. They got very honest with me. Not all of them, but 1 or 2 of them said, what, Glenn, I've actually had the same experience. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. I felt very encouraged by that. And so just know that you're not alone and that even the highest performers, the ones you think that can do no wrong, have definitely or most likely failed at one point or another, or probably multiple times. And I think the key thing is you just got to pick yourself up, brush yourself off, learn from the experience, try not to make the same mistake again if you can avoid it, learn from it, get a little introspective, think about yourself, where do you think what are your areas of that you need to work on, and then just move forward and try to do things a little bit differently next time.
What great advice. And just to pull out for me, the big headline there It's the importance of networking within your own company and identifying people with more experience who you admire, and then taking them out for a cup of coffee, grabbing lunch with them or breakfast, and asking them if they would be your mentor, that you admire them and you would love to learn from them. And these are the golden nuggets that you're going to get from those wonderful mentors in your own career. Final question, Glenn. If you could go back to Cornell and do it all over again, enjoy all that apple cider and the fishing and the beauty of Ithaca, but based on the wisdom that you have now, what advice would you give yourself?
Okay, so I hope I'm going to have to apologize to all the parents out there who are spending a lot of money on college. By the way, I am the father of a college student, a rising senior in college, okay? And I'm paying a lot of money for that. So I apologize in advance. But my advice, and this is very honest advice, is I definitely would have partied more. And what I mean by that is I don't necessarily mean with alcohol, but what I mean is that I definitely would have networked with more intention. I would have met more people. I would have spent more time just hanging out or doing activities with other students. And then, of course, following up with them after graduation. Now, I did do some of that for sure. And it was definitely one of the best parts of college and grad school for me. But to be totally frank, I was too obsessed with my grades and my GPA and getting into a top graduate school, doing well academically, that I ended up spending a lot of my time and effort in that area. And again, I'm not saying you shouldn't study or try to do well academically. And, but now that we have LinkedIn and other platforms and tools to stay in touch easily with people, there's absolutely no excuse not to build a larger network of friends and acquaintances at school and enjoy the experience as much as possible, because it goes by way too fast. And I can tell you, I would trade places with you, the listener, anytime, right now. You can come over here. You can do my job. I'll take your spot in your classroom or in your dorm any day. And I'm very serious about that. I absolutely loved school and I miss it like crazy.
I was going to say, you might be okay with that, but I'm not so sure if the McKinsey higher-ups would want to see a 21-year-old who's heading up reputation and communication for McKinsey Greater China.
Now that's okay. We have some of our colleagues, not many, but I've seen some of our colleagues go on to careers in education. They're deans of major business schools. They sit on the boards of schools. I was on the board of my children's school for several years. And some people do go back for degrees, for PhDs or law degrees or whatever. And a degree is definitely something I would like to pursue at some point or another one in the future. Yeah, sure. Why not?
Oh my gosh. Well, one of many things that Glenn talks about in his LinkedIn articles is just the importance of having that student mind where you're constantly learning and growing. I too love to learn and grow and educate myself about all different subjects. And it's just been, I would say, the secret sauce to what has fueled me, not just caffeine, over the course of my career, Glenn. Thanks for tuning in to this K-Cup mini episode of Time for Coffee. If you want to listen to our entire caffeinated career conversation, please check out the show notes for this episode. Thanks so much for listening to this latest episode of T4C. And if you're interested in learning more about my coaching services for confused college students and recent grads, feel free to check out the Time for Coffee website under the coaching tab at time4coffee.org or text me at 202-236-5712. That's 202-236-5712.